podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
And I'm your host, Cody Vancillo.
Cody, yeah, there was a very mixed reaction. I know a lot of Big 12 fans were disappointed, especially with the questionable officiating in the second half of the national championship game. But, man, the Florida Gators are your 2024-2025 national champions. They win and they come back again in like in their four out of six games in their journey to win the national championship. They came back. They came back from a 12-point deficit, and this was like about like in the 11 or 10 minute mark in the second half. But Florida, like I said, for a whole tournament, had a Harvard champion, and it paid off, and they are finally national champions. They win 65-63, and this is a game where um, Walter Clayton Jr. only had like 11, 12 points. And like I said, Richard was I believe was his leading scorer for the Gators as they lead them to victory.
Yeah, this game was definitely a tale of just Florida just kind of like hanging around a little bit. I mean, even when Houston got us a
Mm-hmm.
12-point lead, Florida was still able to find a way to hang in. And ultimately, at the end, you did see Florida like chip away at the Houston lead. And yeah, yeah, Will Richard with 18 points. He was the main scorer. And I mean, he had to deal with LJ Cryer doing
Yeah.
everything LJ Cryer could do in order to win that game. But yeah, I think there was just a sense where it was like there was a sequence like in that 10-minute mark somewhere around there. And Florida
Mm-hmm.
got like back to back buckets, and from there I looked at it. I'm like, this is where Florida gets all the momentum, and this is when they're gonna like. I think they're winning it after like getting a couple like good sequences, like some good defensive stops, and then some explosive plays. Um, yeah, outside of Will Richard, yet Alex Condon step up. He had 12 points
Yeah.
as a starter, and yeah, I think the production of Alex Condon was very crucial for Florida, and free throws were a bit of a story, I guess you can look at it, because Florida was able to shoot a lot more free throws because of those fouls, and that allowed Florida to chip away at the lead, and eventually they were able to pull like to get the win late.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at chances for Houston, because a lot of people will say, "Oh no, Houston." There was like a discrepancy of powers in the second half, which there was, but if you look at a lot of possessions, it seems like Houston settled for a lot of shots that they don't usually try and make. They settle for a lot of jump shots. I saw, and they weren't making those, and the shots that they usually make and the putbacks that they were getting, they weren't really making those either. So they were struggling. They struggled in the second half.
For sure. Yeah, and I think it just like if you're Houston, there are quite a few sequences that you definitely want back in the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the big one everyone's going to talk about is Emmanuel Sharp, just putting up a nothing burger at right at the end of the game. And there were a couple other possessions where Houston's offense just is absolutely sputtered. LJ Cryer
Right.
stepping out of bounds on the sideline in front of the Houston bench. Then you had a couple missed free throws like down the stretch that I was watching. I believe it was Juwan Roberts. I think he missed uh, I think the second free throw because he was shooting two and he split the
He
pair.
went 1 to 2.
So
Yeah.
yeah, those couple of those free throws needed to fall, and then those putbacks. You kind of want one of those, a couple of those back because I mean that's your bread and butter right there. And when you aren't getting those, it's going to be pretty difficult to win with the way Florida was surging and how they found their offense.
And the thing is that Houston was having them play their type of ball the entire game because what kept Houston in the game was though a lot of those turnovers that they forced. Um, like they forced like double-digit turnovers, but I knew that Florida was going to be in a good spot um, when they were only down by three at half.
hmm Yeah, and I mean even when Houston went on what was it a 10-0 run in the first half, and Florida was still
Mm-hmm.
right there. I mean that just showed that there need to be a lot more done, and Florida was right in that game. So I mean, yeah, nothing else to say. I mean, Florida Gators for the first time since that back-to-back title wins, national champions, and I mean even with that. I think this was still a good showing for the Big 12 because I mean you sent a team
Oh yeah.
to the national championship game and you beat Duke on the way there, and you beat some really solid teams. You beat Purdue on the way there, and I saw this like people were like saying, "Oh, the Big 12, like the the whole thing of like Big 12." I saw this. This is mostly from like Iowa fans, whatever, trying to say that they were parading around the fact that the Big Ten was off to a no start or whatever. Then they faltered, and I'm like, wait a minute, Iowa, like you didn't even make the tournament. Why are you talking? The reason like the
Uh,
reason why we prop like us at Iowa State, we prop up the Big 12 because we actually like. I mean, we didn't. It was disappointing for us. Yes, it was certainly a disappointing year, but at least we made the tournament and we got ourselves a win. I mean, it took a
right.
pretty career day for Ole Miss to beat us, and at the end of the day, the Big 12 still had a good representation. I mean, you had Houston going to the national championship. You had Texas Tech go to the Elite Eight, and boy, Texas Tech, you do you see who's coming back for them?
Yeah. They're gonna be loaded next year.
Yeah, when I think somebody, one of my friends told me like JT Toppin is likely declaring for the draft, and then I said up, and then I saw that he's coming back. He's like, oh no,
Yeah, Tech is going to be one of those teams that you're gonna have to watch out for next year. They're gonna be one of
yeah,
the top teams in the league. Houston's gonna be reloaded, so it's gonna be just as crazy as it was next
hmm
year. And I don't. I mean, I would like to say Kansas, but man, after two lackluster years, I don't know. I don't know where Kansas goes from here, man. Because do you think you got
yeah.
to think
I
Baylor's
think
gonna
the
get
yeah I
better?
saw yeah. Oh, one problem with Baylor, Robert Wright is transferring out of Baylor. And I think he's going to BYU to join Agent Ibansta.
BYU is about to be a problem.
They got the money. They got the money. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, how did we allow BYU to do this? I mean, they went from because like I think some people were initially like Iowa State fans, especially were fearful that Igor Demon was going to come back to BYU, but Igor Demon clears for the draft, and then the news comes out that Robert Wright III is going to BYU. So it's like they really replaced a talented point guard with another talented guard. So it's like nothing changed.
Hey, that's the new game in NIL, man. We're just gonna have to be
Yeah.
a good developing team and a good
hmm
developing program. So,
Yeah. And then real quick back to Kansas, I think they landed a Loyola Chicago player,
oh
uh,
yeah, yeah, I saw that.
and I think he may do better for like I think he may be better for their production. And obviously, you get Badunga coming back to Kansas, so I'm guessing him entering the portal was kind of a leverage move. So we're gonna see where they are. And then for us, obviously, we've hammered it home. I mean, we've seen like Jefferson's coming back,
Hmm.
and then we'll see if we can get maybe one or two more players. I don't know exactly who we would go for right now, but it'd be nice to maybe get like a maybe another guard or a big. I mean, just to see where we go. And ultimately, for us next year, it comes down to actually playing the freshmen. And the
Yeah,
reason, and I think it's going to happen because with every team in the country, they're going to get 1 year younger because you're phasing out almost, I'd say about 90 to 95% of the COVID year players. You may
yeah.
have a few exceptions, but generally speaking, the country's going to be a 1 year younger. So now you're going to see a lot more teams playing freshmen. Because now you don't have to worry about them being outmatched by a 23 or 24-year-old grizzled veteran.
Right, like that tournament that we have next year. We have another shot to play Auburn again. So like, and Auburn's gonna be it's probably gonna be good because Chad Baker Mazara is thinking about coming back next year, and he's gonna be 26. So
Jesus.
yeah, there might be a chance that we might see him again. But I think that's we're gonna put a bow on the national championship. It was a good season. So right now, let's take a look at the two early top 25 2025 2026 season. Would you want to pull that up, Cody?
Yeah. There were a few that I saw um, here, but I'm gonna see if I can find John Fanta because I mean I saw his and I was pretty like interested. I don't know if I like right now. Come on. Uh, okay, so let's see here. Uh, okay, so I'm just gonna pull up the. I haven't found the graphic yet, but I can just pull up the article from Fox Sports, and this is a John
Sure.
Fanta who also does like the field of 68.
Gotcha.
So this is just going to be his. So we just scroll down a little bit, but he's going to start off with Houston being the number one team. So I'm guessing that they are going to reload because I mean you do lose Eldrick Crier, but it looks like you're still going to have Emmanuel Sharp, maybe Milos Uzon, and then JoJo Tugler and Terrence Arnault, and then they have the number four recruiting class, Christina Jr. and Isaiah Harwell. Then there are their stats there.
And I
You
don't know
follow
if you
that up with
saw.
Purdue. What's up?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you saw, but they just got Pop Isaacs from Creighton.
Oh, God.
So it
Yeah, I
looks like that means that Milos Uzan is probably leaving.
interesting. I mean, I don't know. Pop Isaacs. I mean, I'm not sure like how I. Mm, how do you feel about that? Like Pop Isaacs going to Texas Tech. Like, what was your reaction when when Houston announced that they landed Pop Isaacs?
I mean, I feel like that could be a good spot for him because um, Kelvin Sampson is a good developer of talent. So I think that this could be a good landing spot for him, especially if he's healthy. I think that would be a
Yep.
really, really advantageous spot for him to be. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I found a better graphic. So
Yes.
here we go. Yeah. All right. So yeah, Houston number one, Purdue number two, Louisville at number three. So I'm guessing
Mm,
John Fant. He's pretty high on Pat Kelsey.
yeah, really. Louisville number three.
hmm Duke number four. Not surprised there, unless I mean I would guess maybe Cooper Flag. Like Duke's gonna be Duke, but we'll see like what the status of like Cooper Flag, Colin Knuppel, and Malawatch.
Right.
UConn at five, Texas Tech at six, like we mentioned earlier, returning JT Toppin. That's huge for them.
Yeah.
Seven would be Alabama, St. John's eight, number nine UCLA, and then Iowa State at number 10. And there was a lot of debate within Iowa State camp about Iowa State's position at being in the top 10.
I mean, I don't see how there is. I mean, because like we talked about it, like we like some people just like to live in the moment and only will look at what we are now and not look at next year, especially with all the talent coming in. Plus, with the production coming back, yeah, we're losing Cujo and we're losing Gilbert, but we're also getting Joshua Jefferson back for another year. We're going to have another year of an experienced Milan Momcilovic. We're going to have Nate Heisey, who's going to be comfortable in this role, and then we're going to have Taman, who's one of the top point guards in the nation. So, I mean, I don't see how that's really debatable to me,
Yeah,
at least.
yeah. For me, I think I put a tweet out when I saw this graphic. I think the biggest need that I needed to see was kind of Milan to be a little more consistent with his shooting. I mean, he ended with the year what 40% from three,
Hmm.
but it felt like they were like in spurts. Like we had days where he shot well, and then days that he didn't shoot as well. So maybe having that 40% will still be nice, but just have it in a more consistent pattern from game to game. Then
Yeah.
obviously you saw Nate Heisey develop the three ball late, so if he can have that throughout the entire year, that's great. You're gonna get full. You're gonna presumably have a full healthy Taman Lipsy because he's not gonna be coming off anything big. And then if you get his shooting from his sophomore year to add, that'll be great. Jefferson to further develop as a Swiss Army knife essentially because he can do just about anything. And then obviously you see jumps in play from your freshman and your transfer class will be huge. So that's where you're going to be looking at the most because I think the
Yeah.
defense last year, at least to TJ standards, was a bit disappointing.
It
I
definitely
think that's
was.
what it is. So hopefully now you have a little more athleticism. You can guard better. You can guard the pick and roll better. You can guard the paint a little better, and the length as well. That'll be really nice for Iowa State. And then we'll see. And then just have to go from there. So that's where you put it. So Iowa State caps the top 10. The rest of the list follows with 11 at Auburn, 12 at Kansas, 13 Florida, 14 Arizona, 15 Michigan, 16 Kentucky, 17 Tennessee, 18 Michigan State, 19 Arkansas, 20 Gonzaga, BYU at 21, Creighton at 22, at 23 is North Carolina, 24 is Texas, and then it, can I just call Iowa at this point the Iowa Bulldogs at this point?
Yes.
Literally, they're like a good like how many of Drake's players have gone to Iowa, including obviously the head coach Ben McCullum.
I think there's like 4 or 5 players. I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny just seeing like the amount of Iowa fans that are hyping up Ben McCullum is this crazy thing. Now, I'm not disrespecting Ben McCullum. Like I obviously got to
Me
live
neither. Yeah.
with Drake, but if you put into perspective, he still lost in the same round as Iowa State did.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
They
and
both
we
lost
had
in
to.
the round of yep.
Right, and then we also have to see if he can coach in a league. Like the Big Ten is tough. Like this ain't the Valley now. Like you ain't
Hmm.
gonna be able to win 30 games unless you really, really know how to coach in this league.
Hmm.
So it should be interesting to see how Iowa season develops. So
Yeah, and
that'll
I'm
be
gonna be on
something
the
to watch
lookout
out
too
for.
for the portal as well because uh,
Yeah,
if you saw, I think we just saw either yesterday that Brennan Hassan from Kansas State has entered the portal. And now some
yeah,
people were yeah, some Iowa fans were hoping that they landed Hassan. Now, obviously, this is gonna hurt, but Iowa State, you remember what he did to you in Hilton Coliseum when Kansas State was on the middle of the hot streak and he just couldn't miss.
yeah. I mean,
And
that was a great shooting
mhm,
performance by him. But there are a lot of schools that are trying to look to secure his services. So
yeah,
that should be an interesting development to see where he ends up. Um, one thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to go back to Milan for a second. Uh,
yeah,
with Milan Momcilovic, I do think next year he's not. I don't think he's going to be hunting shots. I think what we're going to see with Milan this year, I think because every year he's taking a step and taking a step. I think we're going to see like a full play. Like you saw in some of these games where he had to take over and then he can drive to the basket. I think we're going to see him being more of a complete player in this and next year's iteration of the Iowa State team, and like really fully come to his maturation process as a player at ISU.
yeah. I mean, if he do like we know like what he has from three, and then we've seen like what he can do like drive into the paint, and that'll be great because that can also stretch, that can also force the defense to collapse on Milan Momcilovic if he gets on a
Right,
mismatch, and then Milan could potentially kick it out to say an A Heisey or a Demarion Bateman, and they can knock
right,
down a shot from the perimeter as well. So that's going to make Iowa State even more dangerous. And then and then he also has the mid range as well. So if he needs to have that mid range shot, he can do so as well. So just having two guys that can do just about anything on the court with Jefferson and Momcilovic, that's going to make Iowa State much more dangerous. And then you supplement those two with the supporting cast of Lipsy, Heisey,
mm-hmm.
Bateman, Torre. I mean, there's still like a good amount of things to look good for, and I think this is why, even with the way like obviously the season ended, I think it's just a matter of like I think that's going to be a one thing I think the coaching staff is going to be able to need to balance better is like how intense are you going to go in practice? Because I think you saw the wear and tear by the end of the year. Like we know how intense TJ's practices are, and I appreciate that. But I think there is a bit of a line that you have to consider, so that way you aren't wearing your guys out so much that like by like February March where you typically see a TJ led team collapse. We saw it again, so you kind of want to try to avoid that. But it's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean that was one question that I posed, and I put a tweet. I was like, part of me wonders if we should change up our playing style. Obviously, not fully change it up to where we're unrecognizable, but maybe like, hey, maybe we shouldn't go as hard because you look at every other teams hitting their stride, and we're basically like the walking wounded by the time the tournament gets here. So I'm wondering maybe if we adjust that a bit.
Hmm. And then also adjusting like your rotation as well, and maybe
Right.
expanding to a 9-10 man. Because I think if I look at the Houston game, oh wait, well they did eight, but I mean that's a national
Yeah.
championship. But like those guys are way more athletic than Iowa State guys. Like that's just a natural thing. Houston has way better athletes than we do. I mean I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, I mean both teams run 8-man rotations, but I think for us, if it'd be nice to maybe like explore a 9-man, 9-10 man, and then by like tournament time, you're gonna have guys much more fresh. Like you're gonna have a little more fresher legs come tournament time, and then maybe can do the 8-man like what we saw in the national championship.
Right, and I think that this is going to be the time. I think when we have these bye games is this is going to be the most important time for us to see the freshmen because, especially if we're up by a lot, we don't need to have our starters in there until for the whole entire time. Once we're up by like 2025, let the freshmen come in, get their licks, and then and then I'd like to see them in the rotation in that tournament, and that big tournament that we have at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And
What's
then
it?
maybe
What's it
having
called? Sorry. But
uh hold on, let me look. Okay. Let me see. 25. Daggone it. I actually don't know, man.
yeah. Let me see. It's something like, is it like the Players Classic or something like that?
That yeah, the one in Vegas, right?
Uh huh.
It's
Las
somewhere out there, I
Vegas.
think.
Let's
I
see.
thought.
Okay. So I'm gonna read the Cyclophen. Okay, no, it's Players Era Festival is what I'm looking at
Ah,
here. Because I just need a refresher to see who we're gonna be playing here. So this is from last year. So this is from Matt Norlander originally. So this may have changed a bit, but this is from the original Matt Norlander post from June of last year. So things may have changed, but the original lineup was consisting of Alabama, Creighton, Houston, Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, San Diego State, and Texas A&M. Also adding in Baylor, Iowa State. I just need to see like the updated lineup though, so I'm gonna try
gotcha.
to find. Let's see.
I know Gonzaga was in there too. I think.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think I found a much more updated photo here. So Players
Okay.
Era Festival. This is from last month. So the teams are going to consist of Alabama, Auburn, Baylor, Creighton, Gonzaga, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, San Diego State, St. Joe's, St. John's, Syracuse,
Man,
Tennessee, Texas A&M, and UNLV is what I'm looking at here.
man, that is good. That is gonna be a loaded. That's gonna be loaded, man. Holy crap.
I mean, to add on to this, you obviously get Cyhawk for Iowa State, and then what? You also have the Purdue game. We're forgetting that Iowa
Oh
State plays
yeah, we gotta
Purdue,
play Purdue. Man, the knockout's gonna be tough next year.
and I mean, hey, if this is what's going to help mold us to a better team come February, March, I'm here for it.
That's what I'm saying. I'll take being like 4-3 like Houston was,
Hmm.
if it makes us and gives us a run to the national championship. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited about basketball season next year, but we're gonna take it to another topic. Unfortunately, Kelsey Jones has hit the portal. I
Hmm.
know that you are a really, really big women's basketball fan. So, what did Kelsey Jones mean to you, Cody?
I think Kelsey Jones just meant like so the Jones family like had felt like very unanimous with Iowa State women's basketball. I mean, you talk about Ashley Jones, Aubrey, and now Kels. All three of them at one point or another had played at Iowa State. Obviously, Aubrey Jones had transferred to Oklahoma, and the same thing now. Like now, Kelsey has hit the portal. So, and Kelsey has started really hitting her stride here last year, and she got starting minutes, and she gave a spark like off the bench, have a spark in the starting lineup. So, I think the with the Jada Williams coming into the picture, it felt
Yeah,
kind of like an unfortunate like formality that Kels was probably going to hit the portal because out of anybody that would have hit the portal. And, well, I didn't expect it at all, but if you look at the room, I feel like there was one person that could. It could have maybe been Kels, and I'm not sure. So this one's gonna hurt because obviously you're losing like a pretty like you're losing somebody who really brought like a lot of hustle and effort to the team. Like I always watch Kels and I just see her like go chasing after loose balls and hunting like some shots or whatever. So just kind of missed that.
yeah, she was a great piece to this second plus. But hey, sometimes it doesn't work out, or sometimes a better player will come in, and then the players just a writing on the wall, and they have to do what's best for them. So, from the Bleav in Iowa State podcast crew, Kelsey, thank you for being a Cyclone, and we wish you the best in your future endeavors. So
Yeah.
Cody, I know it's really been a big thing in college, and I know just really a big thing on Big 12 Twitter. I see that you've been watching the Masters.
Yeah. I mean, when there's not really much going on, the Masters is happening. So it's just not much, but let me see here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Masters just started up, and this would be, I guess, a pretty good time to mention our presenting sponsor, MyBookie. Yeah, right now they're running a live bet. So right now, MyBookie is running live bets with the Masters and MLB, obviously. So if you're trying to like win some money and make some money off of watching golf, the Masters, and you think you know ball, head to MyBookie to make your claim.
Yeah, head to my bookie. Use our promo code MM50, and make sure to mention the Bleav in Iowa State podcast when you sign up. And you will be able to be signed up, get locked in, and try to win some money. Thank you again, my bookie, for that. And of course, um, like we, so as you guys know, we are now, Cody. We're 72 episodes in. We've sort of found our footing in this podcast thing, and we finally have we have secured one of our first big time guest, man.
Hmm.
And
Tell me
who
about
is
it.
that? Man, we have no one else but Taylor Mauser, the offensive coordinator of the Iowa State Cyclones. Cody, I am so pumped to do this interview, man. What are your thoughts?
I This is going to be very exciting. I mean, Taylor Mauser like been with the staff for a few years, and obviously we saw what he did in his first year as offensive coordinator. You saw Iowa State have an offense that I think some of us were really waiting on, and I mean we got to see some very explosive plays. You still stuck to your fundamental football, but you got glimpses of what a great Iowa State offense could be, and obviously now you have Rocco Beck leading the crew, and now you get your running back room who has been touted within the facility as like the best running back room that they've ever seen. You also have a plethora of wide receivers
Mm-hmm.
at your disposal, and then obviously the trenches are a big thing, and I think the trenches could take a step in the right direction even without Jalen Travis. I think Dylan Bear coming back from another year and Tyler Miller, those two could be stalwarts, and then with Ryan Clan, I'm looking at like this offensive unit. It obviously starts with O line. I think they're going to take a step up and really going to be able to protect Rocco Beck and get Rocco Beck's going to be able to get the ball to the playmakers. And I think this is lined up primarily for Iowa State to assert themselves as one of the top four teams in the Big 12 for football.
Yeah, not to mention that we have two very good tight ends now with Gabe Burkle coming into the fold last season. Him being a threat in the passing game, and with a fully healthy Ben Bramer, I definitely see us running a lot of 12 and 22 personnel,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the red zone. So this is going to be a fun season. I will give you guys all the details about that. So this will be this Taylor Mauser interview podcast will be on Wednesday night. That was when he was available. It'll be Wednesday night at 8 p.m. It will be streamed on my page at SciTi Guy, or you can tune in on YouTube or our Riverside link that I usually will post before the show, or on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can go on my personal page, Tyler Carter, and go and watch it that way. But this is going to be a great show. I can't really. It's going to be full of great conversation. So I can't wait for you guys to tap in and join with us. But with that being said, we are going to end today's show. Thank you guys for joining in with us on the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. A few more things before we go. Bleav in Iowa State is a top 15 sports podcast in the state of Iowa, nominated by Speedspot. So thank you, everyone in the great state of Iowa, for listening. Everybody else, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Speedspot, for nominating us as a top 15 pod. Um, Here's where to find us. If you want to find Cody on Twitter, He is at Matt Campbell Impersonator. So he'll have his takes and memes and all that.
Mm.
Um, and then you can find me on social media, uh, Tyler at Sci Tie Guy. Um, like I said before in the previous episode, you can hear me moan and complain about the White Sox, moan and complain about the Cowboys, about how they're never going to win again, and enjoy my misery. But yeah,
Or
that's
or tune into you just hyping up the Florida Gators.
yes, and hyping up the Florida Gators, of course. Even though they're probably going to go like 8-4, 7-5 in football. But yeah, and then of course, here's where we can be found. How you spell Bleav? Bleav. Here are our fine forms of social media: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Once again, how you spell Bleav? Bleav. So for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Van Seal,
this is a Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones.
let's go State.
All right.
Yeah. I'm looking at